I like to be extremely transparent with my clients when they're looking at listing a home and helping them understand how I come up with numbers, because I think it's a misconception oftentimes when we see one person's house selling for X amount and then wondering what our house should sell at as well. So I want to show you this, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, ianofAustin.com. I'll make sure that you also have my phone number and anything else you need. So I'm going to start off with this property. One thing that's interesting about it is I know it's a Gray Point home, and it was sold in 2018 as a new construction, and we've got the sales price here. I've got the tax rate. So remember, the tax rate is higher when you have a new construction home, and then this is the annual HOA. This and this tend to change over the years. Okay, so let's start off by acknowledging that this is $155 a square foot is what that is. 1,600 square feet, built in 2018. It's 0.15 acres, almost 1.6 acres. So that gives us an idea of where we started in 2018. And the subdivision is Carmel. I know that subdivision very well. I've done a lot of business out there. So now I want to go in and show the comps. So I'm in the Austin MLS. I'm going to start by searching here. I'm just going to go search, and I'm going to pull up the address. But I'm also checking these boxes. If you've seen any of my videos, active versus actually closed houses, whenever we're looking at listing a home for sale, we have to focus on what's closed, not what's active. What's active is our competition. What's closed is what the appraisers are going to look at when they agree that your house is worth that amount. And so one of the challenges is if we list the price too high and then it comes back and the appraiser says it's not worth that, then the buyer gets a chance to either back out and has to renegotiate anyway, because the appraiser, the city, is essentially saying, no, it's not worth that amount. So we have to try to cut that off. Okay, so now let's start here. I'm just going to go to the subdivision and put in Carmel, and it brings us down to 19. So what's important here is that with closed, we only have 60 days. So I have 0 to 60 days. And just to double check all that, I'm going to go to the map, make sure that I'm actually getting Carmel. Now this is really important. You see how there's actually multiples. So there's another neighborhood down by the airport called Carmel. So what I want to do is extract that and just bring it here. So I'm going to draw a radius around this. Now this is the only Carmel that I care about, and now I'm going to go to results. So what's important is that we see a lot of information that gives us some important stuff. But before I do that, I'm noticing we only have 7. I'm going to expand this a little bit, and instead of it being 60 days, I'm going to do 75 days. So in the last 75 days, it didn't add anything. In the last 75 days, we've had 5 homes that have closed and 2 that have been on the market. In fact, one of them, so I'm going to read through this just so we can talk through how these numbers work. Starting with the status, the top 2 are active, the bottoms are closed. Closed is what we're focused on. Active is just our competition. So we've got the address, number of full bedrooms, full bathrooms, half baths, garages, single story or 2-story. But let's talk about the garages for a second. Obviously, if it's a 3-car garage, it's going to be worth more. Obviously, if it's an extra bedroom or 2, it's going to sell for a higher price, right? So as we move over here, we have the year built. There's not a lot of variance between every, I would say, 10 years, okay? So if it's built in 2018 or 2023, doesn't matter to an appraiser. It might matter to the buyer, doesn't matter to an appraiser. So that's really important to note. And then next is the land. So this one is 0.10 acres. This one is 0.26 acres. Once you're over a quarter of an acre, that's actually a lot of land for this area. So that's important to consider when you're looking at pricing strategies. Next, you have the square footage of the home. So this is 1924. This one's 2785. General rule of thumb. If you were to start in the middle where the averages are, as you go lower in square footage, the price per square foot tends to get higher. And as you go higher in square footage, the price per square foot tends to get lower. So basically, larger houses sell for less price per square foot, and smaller houses sell for more price per square foot. And that's why being a solid range when you're listing your home is extremely important. These are the list prices. Okay, but remember, this is correlated to what the price per square foot is, which is right here. So here's a great example. Cyril Drive is a 5-bedroom home 2-story, almost 3,000 square feet, listed at $600,000. It's at $218 a square foot, and it still has been on the market 187 days. So we'll have to look and see why this has been on the market for so very long. That's quite interesting. Next is your list price per square foot. So based on this number, based on the square footage, that's how they come up with the list price. So we're saying $218 a square foot. And if we looked at your original home, when you purchased it, it was $155 a square foot. So obviously the value has increased substantially, okay? That's way more than even the lowest priced home here. And rightfully so. It's been some years, 5 years. Okay, so now the most important is closed price per square foot. So based on what they listed it at, what did it actually close at? So this is the closed price. In fact, I'm going to move this over. And this is the closed price per square foot. I like looking at these together because now it shows, so I'm going to use this as an example. So line 3 on Duroc, it shows that it was listed at 204, closed at 201. So even though they listed it at 375,000, they only made 370. They only sold it for 370,000. And it sat 30 days for that to happen. But this is a 3-bedroom home built in 2018. And so your home is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. Do we see any of those here? No. We see 4-bedroom, 3 baths, which is here. And this is a half bath, so I wouldn't even count that. And then we see 3-bedroom, 2 baths. That's it. So really, only these 3 are the main comps to compare for your house. That's what an appraiser is going to do. And then they're going to look at the square footage. They're going to average this out and come up with a decent price per square foot. And then, it doesn't matter what it's listed at. What matters is what's closed at, because that's the number that gets it to move. These two, really in the last 60 days, because the number of houses didn't change when I changed it from 60 to 75. Days on market, we're on the market 2 days, which is quite interesting. And they're both, resale homes. So they were on the market 2 days in January, and they went right away. So we know within this average price per square foot, so I'm looking at maybe like a 214 or a 213 price per square foot, then we'll be able to move it within the month, assuming that marketing is effective and there's nothing different between these houses and the house that we have for sale. And then this is the date it closed, and this is how many days it lasted on market, which I had talked about a couple times, right? So like right here, this Duroc took a month to close. This one, this Hay Needle, took 66 days to close. And then this bottom one, Knowles, took 101 days to close. So these are the dates it closed in February, which means it was back in, October or November that it was actually listed for sale. They went through November, Thanksgiving, they went through Christmas, didn't get anything, and finally in January, someone put it under contract. You see? Okay, so that's where we're at, and that gives us our solid numbers. So next, I'm going to come back and just look at some of these houses to see what they look like. So our current competition on the market are these 2. Okay, within that radius in this neighborhood, we've got 2 on the market. And this is extremely important. Based on when we actually list the home for sale, this could change. So if we wanted to list it in 3 weeks from now, there could be 4 homes listed, which means we have to redo the numbers. And so the number that we're talking about today, which I'm saying if we did $215 a square foot, we would dominate the competition. I think we could probably go a little bit higher looking at what's currently available, but it depends on how long you're willing to wait. So if we went a little bit higher at like 220 or 221 a square foot, we should be in a really good spot, like really good. We could probably push it to about a 225 a square foot. And the reason why is because it's a 4-bedroom. So it sits right in between these two, right? That's gonna be a little challenging, but if we did 425 a square foot, so let me get out my handy dandy calculator, 225 times, so this home is 1610 square feet, and now we're at 362, and I'd bump it up to 365. So we're talking about 365 a square foot. $365,000 would be a really solid listing price. Now, that is assuming, again, that we're sitting in between this number of days on market. So if we want to increase the speed or expedite the speed, we can only do a handful of things. We can't choose the location. We can increase the marketing, increase maybe ad spend, increase relationships and who we're reaching out to, or adjust the price. And so if we're lowering the price per square foot, so right now I'm suggesting 362, if we were to drop it to, let's say 355, I feel like this would be much more aggressive instead of putting it at a higher number and then just waiting. Right? That's just how this works. Okay, so I just want to look at these two and see if there's anything different. And what I'd like for you to do is to pay attention to these and say, are these any better than my Gray Point home built in 2018? Okay, because this is what buyers are going to see. They're going to say, I've got a 4-bedroom house, a 5-bedroom house, and a 3-bedroom house. Which one do I want to buy? Because while the prices are different, the value to them, depending on who they are and what their lifestyle is like, might be similar. Okay, so I'm going to click on these. And you don't know why they're going to buy what they're going to buy. They might buy it as an investment. They might buy it for their child to be able to move into. They might buy it for themselves to live in. There's so many reasons. It might be a couple that's downsizing, right? There are lots of things. Okay, so this house, I'm just going to quickly kind of run through and take a look. It looks very much builder grade. I don't think they did anything to the home. Okay, and I don't know if you've done anything to the home, and that's why there's this comparison. So are the floors similar, right? Which we can look at. This, I can see that there's carpet in the living room, which means they didn't spend the money to get that done when they were building the home. And most buyers are like, well, I don't want to deal with carpet in the living room. And so they're going to psychologically drop the price a little bit from that. I see that there's a refrigerator. I don't know if there's a washer and dryer. Oftentimes, you can negotiate the refrigerator, but today, buyers are expecting that the refrigerator comes with the home. And so if you're saying to the buyer, hey, you're not going to get the refrigerator, they're going to want to negotiate that too and probably not offer such a strong amount. And there's no washer and dryer. I do see that there's a covered patio, which is wonderful. I feel like every house needs to have a covered patio. All right, so that's that one. I think that gives me a good indication. And then the other one is this one. So this one already has a pool. So it's already so interesting. It has a pool, completely different builder, and it's a larger home listed at a low price per square foot. Wow. Like, this is heavy competition. Like, why wouldn't somebody buy this house with the pool? Or why would they buy your house over this house? Right? That's what we have to do. Probably because of the price, right? This already has an outdoor kitchenette, a small one, a large fan on the covered patio. And I like the tiled floors. I think they did a good job. They put the tile all the way up on the top of the fireplace. Pretty similar open concept otherwise. I like that the ceilings are tall. It looks like it has a lot of natural light. And there's double-sided cabinets, not just on one side. It's a really nice house, okay? But it's two-story. Here's the thing about two-story. Two-story, while most people might think, okay, well, I can charge more for a two-story, it's actually not the case. It reduces the number of buyers because a lot of people, once they get over a certain age or if they have young children, they don't want to deal with stairs, which is kind of interesting. So if somebody, a little like office nook. So if somebody's 70 years old, they're not running up and down the stairs. That's just not going to happen. I like this shower. That means they lose a bath. I don't know how many people have talked about wanting to buy a house, but because it doesn't have a bathtub in it, in their primary bedroom, they don't want the house. I was like, seriously? That's what happens. Even though nobody even uses the bathroom, they say stuff like that. Okay, but they did a good job with the backyard, but you remember, you got to think about who the buyer is. In this case, this might be nice for somebody, but someone else with young kids, they might say, well, I don't want my kid falling in the pool, and it's all concrete. They don't have a yard that they can play in. What if they fall and bump their head? This is hard surface. So it's not for everybody, even though it might be for a lot of people. You see, there's a loft upstairs. That's a little bit of extra space that you can leverage. Even if it's not a bedroom, it still could be a playroom for kids, a play area. And so here's your home here. Okay, so that gives us a good indication of what I think with the competition, what I think a strong listing price would be based on this information. And then what I want to hear from you is, how do you feel about it after seeing this? What are the things that you think, what is the number that you think makes sense after seeing this and why? And let's talk about it, because that's just the start of it. Obviously, there's my strategy on how to market homes and get everything taken care of that way. But it's always really important to just be transparent with, here is where the numbers are for the neighborhood. Now let's talk about how we can improve those. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, ianofAustin.com. I'm Ian of Austin. I appreciate your time. Thank you.